Yo, what is up guys, Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So, browsing boxing Twitter, as I usually do, and I noticed an excerpt from an interview with Conor Benn, and guess what? The interview was conducted by Piers, the phone hacking extraordinaire himself. But the less said about Piers Morgan, the better, because I could be here all day talking about that guy. But yeah, I'm not sure whether the full interview has been released, but there are excerpts out there, there are quotes out there from this interview, and I'll be honest, they had me shaking my head. But in all seriousness, I wasn't surprised, given the day and age in which we live in right now. But yeah, this interview was, I guess, Conor Benn's attempt to get his side of the story across, to clear his name. Quite frankly, this whole Conor Benn situation has been a PR disaster from start to finish. Whoever his PR team needs sacking, quite frankly, because even after the WBC quote-unquote cleared him and enabled him to be ranked in their governing body, they've released a statement giving their reasons for why. Conor Benn's personal statement after that directly contradicted the WBC statement in regards to why he was found quote-unquote innocent by the WBC. But I'm not going to get into that. You can find that information online yourself. But this interview with Piers Morgan, from the excerpts I've seen, it's what I basically expected. You know, from what I've read from this interview, it doesn't really surprise me. And quite frankly, this isn't really a criticism just for Conor Benn, but more of a boxing landscape as a whole, and society as a whole, especially as men. But anyway, one clip is doing the rounds on social media, and it's from the interview, and Piers Morgan basically asks Conor Benn how this whole ordeal, how the controversy has affected him. Conor Benn's acting lessons kick in straight away because, yeah, Conor Benn is also an actor. He's had acting lessons. But anyway, the crocodile tears ensue. He mouths off about how hard this has been and how he was taking things one day at a time, how he couldn't see a way out of this, and that he was considering, you know what? I mean, where have we heard this before? Tyson Fury. Yeah, Conor Benn basically just pulled the Tyson Fury card. I'm mentally ill, I'm depressed, this, that and the other. You know, he pulled out of a violin. And this is becoming a trend that is all too familiar in society today here in the West. Particularly even amongst men. The alleviation of personal responsibility has never been easier. Whatever you do, whatever you say, no matter how you mess up, a cure-all excuse, I've got mental health issues, I'm depressed, I'm this, that and the other, I'm sad. And basically that is the card that Conor Benn pulled in this interview. And interestingly, Piers Morgan also quizzed him on why he wasn't cooperating with the British Boxing Board of Control. And the answer Conor Benn gave was that he was too prideful. He's too prideful to actually let them have this so-called dossier, this 270-page dossier, that according to him, proves his innocence. But he's too prideful to hand that document over to the British Boxing Board of Control. Make that make sense. He then turned around and said that he's not planning on fighting in the UK anytime soon, and that he plans on having his next fights abroad. So screw proving your innocence. Screw that. You know, it is utterly bizarre. His reasoning is utterly bizarre. And Conor Benn comes across as a spoilt and petulant child, quite frankly. But anyway, let's say we grant Conor Benn his reasoning. And, you know, he genuinely made a mistake. Somehow this substance got in his system. Well, again, you know, I quote Conor Benn himself after Jerome Miller tested positive. According to Conor Benn, he's got the most careful team around. They check everything to make sure he's not taking anything he shouldn't be. Well, you employed these people take responsibility, you know, make changes in your team. But no, we haven't seen any of that from Conor Benn. And again, you guys know my opinions on drug testing and drugs in boxing. I'm not, I don't really have the mainstream view in regards to drugs in boxing, personally. You know, you guys know my opinions on drugs in boxing at this point in time, if you followed the channel long enough. So yeah, I'm not sitting out here saying Conor Benn, ban him for life and all that nonsense. I'm not saying that, but the way he's handled this situation has been an unmitigated PR disaster. And now the fact, I expected this long ago, to be honest, that Conor Benn would pull out the mental health card. And here we have it. It's just a reflection of where we are at in 2023. The mental health card is becoming all too prevalent when it comes to alleviating blame and personal responsibility. You know, sometimes we just have to brush ourselves down, accept we made a mistake for whatever reason, and address it. And people ask me, like, there's this narrative on like YouTube boxing community that you have to respect these fighters, that you have to talk about these guys like they are greater than you. Well, that's what you expect from a fighter, right? For these guys to go above and beyond in regards to honor, bravery, courage, etc. In 2023, I don't see that from most boxers. In fact, I have very little respect for most boxers. And when I say boxers, I mean these boxers as men. You know, when I see Conor Benn snivelling like a little child, talking about mental health, I don't respect a guy like that. I don't respect a guy like that. Where's the inspiration in that? Again, these fighters, you know, they are supposed to be the gladiators of this era. I mean, how many YouTubers do we hear call these guys modern day gladiators, right? Well, conduct yourself like one. What's wrong with a bit of stoicism, you know? What's wrong with internalizing these bad thoughts or these bad experiences and turning them into positives instead of, like, sitting on TV or in an interview snivelling like a little child? Again, where's the inspiration in that? Especially, you know, boxing's a working class sport. What are the working class going through right now here in the West? You know, cost of living crisis. Society is changing at a rapid rate, heading in a direction in which isn't for us anymore. We have to deal with things like that. And you know, when you look at fighters, sometimes people want to see inspiration. They want to see that masculine, that positive masculine energy, that resistance, that stoicism, that toughness. Not just physical, but mental. But we don't see that from most of these fighters. I mean, the vast majority of these guys are spoilt brats who are not really all that admirable, in my opinion. I mean, it was similar when I saw Danny Garcia, when he had his comeback fight against Jose Benavidez. He won the fight, and in his post-fight interview, he broke down crying, talking about his depression. Maybe I'm just being heartless, but I just can't relate to somebody like that, who has so little control of his emotions that that's how he acts on camera in front of millions or thousands of people. I just can't relate to people like that personally. You know, this milking of mental health for social currency needs to stop. In fact, sometimes it translates into real money. It needs to stop because, listen, I have my own opinions on the so-called mental health crisis, particularly with men. I have my own opinions on why that is happening. Quite frankly, I think one of the problems is that weakness is now seen as a virtue, or displaying weakness is seen as a virtue, when in reality it's not, as a man, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, take that same logic and place it in a physical realm. Let's say you're in a fight, or let's say your country got invaded, for example, and you're defending your country. Are you going to display to your enemy what your weakness is, or what your weaknesses are? Of course not. So why would you do that on a spiritual level and put all of your weaknesses out on social media, things you're going through? It makes no sense to me. You're giving up your own power, in my opinion. Every time you do that, you're giving up a piece of yourself, in my opinion. And one more thing I find especially distasteful about this milking of mental health for social currency or even financial gain is that there are genuinely people out there who do need help. And again, those people are just going to get lost by the wayside. You know, when every grown-ass man, when he encounters a little bit of resistance in his life or a little bit of hardship, when he instantly chalks it up to depression, listen man, that's not the way to go as far as I'm concerned. And we're seeing it with fighters now. Again, you know, boxing, like anything, reflects society, and I don't like where it's at. I don't like where it's at. I know this video more than likely is going to upset some people. That is what it is. These are my opinions. If you don't like them, that's fair enough. But share yours below. Beanie Guy Del Boy. Peace.